We are honored and privileged to have Bob Raskoff on. He is the attorney for the Washington Redskins. He is the trademark attorney. This is the guy who is going to take this insanity on from the perspective of the Washington Redskins and try to retain the trademark for the Washington Redskins. Bob, welcome to the program. We're honored to have you on today. We know your life has been turned upside down.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to speak with you gentlemen. I really do.
Okay, so Bob, yesterday, I mean, I've never seen anything like this in America, where the United States government thinks that they can take somebody's business and just flush it down the toilet because a subset of a small minority, which has been marketed to, has a problem with a name, and so they just take it and throw it away. What are you guys going to do from here?
Well, first of all, it hasn't been thrown away. I think everybody needs to know that we still own this. It's not canceled. Just like last time, there was an 11-year period between the time the Trademark Board issued their adverse ruling and the time we ultimately prevailed. I don't think it's going to take that long this time, but these are valid, subsisting, and fully enforceable marks, registrations. Nothing has changed. They cannot be canceled and will not be canceled while this proceeding continues. So there's nothing to... I hope the Redskins fans aren't worrying about whether these marks are still registered, because they clearly are and will continue.
So, and that's in spite of what Harry Reid said from the Senate floor yesterday. He said you're canceled, you're done, you don't have the trademark anymore. Did you hear that?
Well, if that's what he said, maybe he should read the opinion.
Bob, I will tell you that we're living in Dallas, Texas. I don't know if you've heard of that town as a Redskin attorney.
Yeah, I do. Actually, I won the American team case for Jerry Jones. So I'm very familiar with Dallas.
So here's the thing. Here we are, and we all have sons, and so we are all Dallas Cowboy fans. My son reminds me that he's the only one that's a true Texan and born in Texas. And all of us, well, Stu is a traitor because he's an Eagles fan, but all three of us yesterday said, we're going out and buying Redskins. I'll buy a Redskins car from you if you sell one, because it is
so wrong.
It is so wrong. And America, I believe, has had enough of this political correct agenda being jammed down our throats. Are you finding yourself with any kind of, are you finding a surge of support?
Well, I don't really. I feel we have unbelievable support, but we keep the support close to us. It's hard to be critical, I think, of the decision at this time in history of this whole movement. It's very hard to. So I don't want to put anybody in a difficult position. We have a lot of support at the grassroots level, in my mind. And not only do we have it in my mind, but where is the support in the record in this case that they have the burden of proof of coming up with?
Well, I mean, I've never seen anything like this. There's a group of people that have gotten together and they've made an ad campaign to try to show people, to convince them that you should be offended by something. This is, I mean, it's almost criminal what they're doing to you. They're smearing you. They're taking the history of the Redskins and turning it upside down. It was never a smear. It was made as a compliment to the first coach.
Well, sure. Well, it was the franchise started using. They were in Boston. They started using Boston Braves, but that was conflicted with the Boston Braves baseball team. So the name got changed to another, laudatory, term for Native Americans, and that was basically the whole story. And then we built on that for years and years and years. We built brand recognition. We turned it into one of the most valuable names in all of sports. Washington Redskins, by any measure, is one of the most valuable trademarks in all of sports.
The Cowboys.
So we have done a lot with it in a positive way.
Bob,
that's one of the things that people don't, or some people would like to forget. Let's just say in their rush to maybe educate, quote unquote, in their own way. You go back and just look at the record in this case. Look at what the witnesses have said, and you'll find your record that's completely at odds with what is being advertised.
Could I ask, with this, you brought up the Braves. Would this affect the Braves? If this stands, does this affect the Braves and the Indians and everything else?
No, would have no effect. Each of these stands on its own.
But from a precedent standpoint, I mean, wouldn't this be
part of a?
Wouldn't this open it up to another?
Every record stands on its own, and so I don't even want to think about anyone having trouble based on whatever might happen here. But
at some point, I think
the answer is no. There's no overlap.
So then, why are you being singled out? And is there any point that the club just says, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore? Because I think that's what they're trying to get you to do. It's just not worth it.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. That's not going to happen. This is a valuable brand. There's something here that resonates. It doesn't just resonate with Dan Snyder, the owner, who was started as a fan and now is the owner, but it resonates with all of the fans or virtually all the fans, let me just say, because everyone's entitled to their opinion in this country, but virtually all the fans feel the same way. So nobody's going anywhere as far as I know. We're gonna get through this, and we will get through it, and we'll be right where we are now, which was we own a famous mark. It's valid, and it's valuable.
Bob, try to understand this from the outside. In this statute, the way it's written, it seems to indicate that there is an opening for them to pull a trademark because of if you're disparaging to a group in some way. But I mean, the worst poll I've ever seen with the Redskins name is something like 18% of people think it's offensive, and that's out of line with the other ones, which have been more favorable for your cause. In that same statute, it includes things like, if people think it would be immoral.
Let me just read it. Consists of or comprises immoral, deceptive, or scandalous matter, or matter which may disparage or falsely suggest connection with persons living or dead, institution, beliefs, national symbols, or bring them into contempt or disrepute. With that being said, couldn't you make the case that Playboy is immoral? Why does Playboy have a trademark?
And certainly polls would support it more than 18% of the population.
You want to talk about consists of immoral, deceptive, or scandalous matter that brings people into contempt. I think you could make that case about the New York. We could get more than 18% to believe the New York Times should lose their trademark.
Okay, well, let me say a couple things. You may find this of interest. If you read that decision, even the majority writes in a footnote that we still have another case in our back pocket, which is that the statute is unconstitutional because it's vague. Mm-hmm. We don't even have to make that argument if we win, and we fully expect to win as soon as this gets in front of a federal judge who understands the rules of evidence and we're going to be in a courtroom environment, not a classroom environment.
So you are reading it the same or similar ways. There's something else in this statute that says, well, we can apply this to a lot of different things, and you don't want to go there.
Well, but the thing is, in our case, but first of all, the first time out, the trademark office said our marks aren't scandalous. Even they wouldn't go that far, and the others. Terms, if you read what the trademark board has done, they've kind of collapsed into disparagement. They're considered simile. So there really aren't there's no more ways for them to go than they've got here in attempting to cancel this registration. But behind all this vagueness, which is apparent when, as you gentlemen have pointed out, is a constitutional challenge that we expect not to have to make, but we'll be ready, willing, and able to if we need to.
So let me just and ask you to take off your Redskins hat for just a second. Which, by the way, you can buy at any great sporting goods store, and all of the proceeds will go to the Washington Redskins. Let me have you take your hat off for just a second, and let me just ask that question again, because you are a trademark attorney.
It's not easy for me to do, but go ahead.
I know, but you are a trademark attorney, right?
I'm a trial lawyer, first and foremost, and I happen to practice some trademark law.
Correct. Okay. So, if I came to you and I said, hey, Bob, I'm reading this and it says moral and deceptive and scandalous matter, couldn't I make the case? Could I hire an attorney and make the case? Because I've got 10% of, I have polls that show 10 or 20% of the American people say that pornography is immoral and scandalous. And could I make the case, weak even, but could I make the case that Playboy should not be allowed to have a trademark?
Well, you'd have to argue that the term Playboy, as applied to these products, is immoral, deceptive, or scandalous.
Could I make the case that they
could? Give it a try. Under your formulation, sure, you could give it a try, because you'd ask the readership, you'd ask the public, what do you think of this designation in the context? But it would have to disparage a group of persons. That might be
okay. I could say that.
In other words, you need a person or a group that feels disparaged. I don't know who would feel disparaged by the use of Playboy.
But if I said this, let's not go for trademark, copyright. All of their pictures and their stories and everything else, all copyright. Penthouse Forum, you don't get a copyright, or you don't get a copyright for any of your stuff. Playboy, because you're disparaging women. I could make that case with at least 30% to 20 to 30% of Americans. That's disparaging women. And you could take away their copyright. I mean, you don't want to open this can of worms. The way this thing is written, I really think if they're going to make this case on the Washington Redskins, you know what? Maybe America, we just let them. Maybe we just let them. And there's no copyrights or anything for anybody. I mean, this is chaos.
Yeah, you're pointing. It's called the slippery slope, and we're on that slope right now. There's no question about it. I agree with you to that extent.
Yep. Bob, what is next for you guys?
We're going to file our complaint, our appeal. It's called a de novo appeal. It will be filed in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia. We have 60 days from the date of the decision to do so. We will not be taking that long. We'll be getting it out before that, and then the process will play itself out in the Eastern District of Virginia. It's known to be a very fast action court. It's called the Rocket Docket, and so we hope to get a ruling certainly more quickly than is ordinarily the case, if not as quickly as the American public would like. Then we move on from the trial court's decision, which we expect to be the same as Judge Catelli's, which is no substantial evidence of disparagement, to an appeal which we wouldn't appeal if we won, of course, but I anticipate that our adversaries would, and they would take it to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit, which will, again, take some time. That's a little more of a deliberative process. We're into probably a few years before we get near to a...
Wow. But in your mind, there is no one in the Redskins organization, no one that is saying anything but to the last man. We are fighting this to the last man.
If I'm confident of anything, that's what I'm most confident of.
Good. Good. Bob, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and best of luck to you. And may I remind you again, he just said that all Redskins paraphernalia, they still get all of the money. I'm in Dallas, and I will buy Redskins paraphernalia this weekend. Do it. Support these guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Bob.
Well, okay, my pleasure. Nice talking to you, gentlemen.
Good talking to you. Bye-bye.
Unbelievable. It's an unbelievable.
You know what it is? This is a Chick-fil-A moment. This is a Chick-fil-A moment. Mm-hmm. They're going to try to wear you down and wear you down. Same thing with Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby. Yep. They're trying to wear them down and bankrupt them. Good. Go buy Hobby Lobby stuff. Go to Chick-fil-A and have lunch. and do it while you're wearing a Redskins jersey. You've got to reinforce and give them money in their coffers to stop, and also give them hope and show them they're not standing alone. There's more of us than there are of them. Go buy Redskins paraphernalia.
You asked that last question, and that was my question: is Dan Snyder going to be able to stand up to this? Because this pressure is going to build and build.
Did you hear the laugh? He was very, very sincere and clear on everything. But when I asked that question, you could hear the smile and the laugh in his voice. Oh yeah, to the last man.
So good to hear.